All right, baby. Welcome to the Gridiron. Let's try to change things up here a little bit. I noticed almost like all the time, like once I get done with like my introduction, I'm like 3-4 minutes already into the into the video. And I don't know who the heck wants to sit around that long and listen to all that stuff. So we try to change stuff up a little bit. Just going to try to get like right into it, right? So welcome to the Gridiron. Description box below, the top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. If you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. If you subscribe to the channel, like and share this video, that'd be absolutely freaking awesome. Also, just a little ways down in the description box, I got 2 links. Top one takes you to my Facebook group. Please join it. You won't be dissatisfied. And the one underneath it is my Twitter link. It takes you to my Twitter account. Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. That's an absolute promise. Other than that, welcome to the Gridiron, where we talk about how good the Giants are and how badly the Eagles and the Cowboys blow. So let's get it on. All right. Hey, 45 seconds. That was pretty good instead of 4 minutes. All right. Well, Tuesday, the veterans show up. So that's cool. And then Wednesday, it's on, guys. So we got a couple days and it's on. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. But we still got some stuff here I got to talk about here. I saw quite a few articles here I want to talk about. Now, one thing was interesting is that, it just goes to show. You're looking, and I seen this, and it's like, the Giants got the 6th most expensive offense. It's like, yeah. It's like, good boy. Where are you? My buddy Randy woke up from a nap. I'm expecting him to come over here any second. Good boy. Coming. There he comes. Here he is. We can continue. Randy's here. 6th most expensive. It's like, yeah, where are the points at? It's like, whew. Let me see. Who is number one? The Browns are number one. 191 million. That's 191. 190 of that is Deshaun Watson. So, yeah. But let's see here. The Rams are number 2 at 190.7. But it goes to show you. I mean, the Browns are paying like 191. I mean, it doesn't leave a lot left for your defense. They got a good defense, though. Let's see. Rams are number 2. Chiefs are number 3, 170.7 million. Cowboys are number 4, 158.7. Falcons are number 5, 151.5 million. And the Giants are number 6, 149.8 million dollars. The Giants are spending. Let's say Giants will have one of the NFL's most expensive offenses in 2024. And you figure, right? You figure out of that money that the Giants are spending on their offense, you figure, right? We don't have a dog of a wide receiver we're paying $85 trillion a year for. Saquon Barkley is bye-bye. And Darren Waller, he retired. So it's like, kind of makes you, our most expensive, right? Is Slayton. Hey, do we have anybody else paying more than, weapon-wise, right? No. NFL salary cap was raised to $255 million per team this offseason, which led the clubs to go on many spending sprees. For the Giants, they allocated their space all over the board, but in the end, the offense was where the biggest investments were made. In a recent analysis of each team's financial makeup of their roster, stat guru Warren Sharp revealed the Giants are spending $149.8 million, or 58% of their cap resources on their offense. That is the 6th highest in the NFL, and it's without re-signing star running back Saquon Barkley, who left the Beagles. Leading the way naturally is quarterback, obviously Daniel Jones. His cap hit is almost close to $50 million, right? So his cap is 47.8. So basically, other than Daniel Jones, right, 47, the Giants are one. So basically, the Giants are spending just a little over $100 million on the offense if you take Daniel Jones and put him off to the side. Of course, then you got followed by Andrew Thomas, 23.3 million. Together, they take up nearly 28% of the Giants' total cap space. Or let's say, I mean, between the two of them, they're about 45%, somewhere around there, of what they're spending on the offense. Because you figure between Daniel Jones is 47.8 and Andrew Thomas is 23.3. They're spending, what is it, about $71 million between those two guys this one season. And if the Giants are at 149, almost 150 spent on their offense, if 71 is going for those guys, you figure whatever, 45%, somewhere around there. So large chunk of money going to those two guys. The Giants have little to show for their money. Nope. On offense, but hope the development of their young core of skill players combined with some strategic free agency signings this season along with the offensive line. Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I said, you're looking at, I mean, Drew Lock. Well, let's see, we got, he's $5 million. Then you got Luminor, right? $7 million. Runyon's $10 million, right? And of course, Evan Neal being a top 7 pick. He's going to be expensive. So it's there. Okay, so Daniel Jones, 47.8. Andrew Thomas, 23 point, rounded up to 23.3. And after that, you got a bunch of, you got Burns, you got Lawrence, you got Akarike, and you got Thibodeau. Right? After that is our biggest expensive weapon, Slayton, $7.75 million. Neal is 6.7. John Runyon, 6.5. His cap hit this season. Right. Let's see. Malik Neighbors, 5.3. Drew Lock is 5. Jermaine Luminor, 4.75. We got here Singletary, 3.75. Wandale Robinson, 2.2. So, but I mean, the Giant, I mean, obviously a lot of the top two, all right, you add the top two together, right, between Thomas and Daniel Jones, you got $71 million being spent on the, the offense between those two guys. But as I said, some of it, obviously it's a little, because if you look here, the Eagles, and I keep bringing them up all the time because it's like, I just can't stand the Eagles. Just can't stand them. I absolutely can't, especially their fans. Just absolutely despise them, right? And down here, like if because I'm in South Jersey, I'm whatever, 25 minutes away from Philadelphia. The Eagle fans, they're like Howie Roseman's like a genius, and he's the greatest GM of all time. It's like he's doing stuff no other GM knows how to do. I mean, it's like it's just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable how absolutely stupid the Eagle fans are. Was it 2029? Jalen Hurts' cap hit is like 97. I mean, once again, Howie's got to do something with that. I mean, but Jalen Hurts' cap hit, I think it's 2029. So it's like 2029 or 2027, 2020, whatever, is like $97.5 million. It's on a void year. Right, so I mean, he'll do something with that, and we'll probably kick some more money down the road. That's all he does. He just brings guys in, and adds void years onto the contract, and just So basically, it's like Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, DeVonta Smith and Brown, A.J. Brown. So Smith and Brown are about $55 million between the two of them on their annual average salary. That's 55. Then you have Jalen Hurts is about 51 million. So that's 106. Throw Saquon Barkley in there, and he's, I'm just rounded up. He's like going back 13 million. So it's like 119, but if you just round it up for an idiot like me, just say those four guys. Their average salary per year, APY, average, per year, is about 120 million, almost half of the salary cap. Is those four guys, $120 million a year they're getting paid, those four guys. But they're counting like 35 cents toward the salary cap for this season. And all the Eagle fans are like, oh my God, Howie Roseman's so great. He's doing stuff nobody else does. Nobody else knows that. It's like nobody else knows that. I was like, no. It's like, there's 32 GMs. They're pretty smart people. You're not flipping burgers at Chuck E. Cheese one minute and becoming a GM of a NFL franchise the next. You're pretty smart. As I said, it's absolutely unbelievable. The Eagle fans around here. They're like Howie's he's doing stuff nobody else knows how to do. It's unbelievable. He has like $350 or $60 million in void year contract. Basically he's doing it because he's pushing all the chips in the middle of the table, because he's on the, he's knocking on the Super Bowl door, proverbial Super Bowl door. And it's like, he's got the window's whatever it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be, another 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. But basically, there's no salary cap with the Eagles. Right? He just keeps bringing guys in. But it just goes to show you. The Eagles, right? They're 20th, 118.8 million. So they're in the bottom half, right? They're paying, they're paying Saquon Barkley like 13 or 14 million. Jalen Hurts is making 51. DeVonta Smith's around 25. Brown's around 25 or 30. Lane Johnson's making like 15 or 20 or something like that. It's like it's unbelievable. Yeah. And they're only spending like 118.8 million. They're like 20th. So they're in the bottom half of spending on their offense. It's just like so. But you certainly would like to see a little more bang for your buck for the Giants. If you're spending, if you're spending a lot of money on the offense, you better start seeing some points. And I said, just think about it. Darius Slayton is our most expensive offensive weapon, and he's not even near 10 million. He's like 7.5. We don't have, we're not paying a Saquon double-digit millions per year. We're not paying Darren Waller double digits per year. We don't have a dog of a wide receiver. We're paying 25. Could you imagine? What we got? I said the Giants. Let's see. All right, 100. Just say 150. All right. If they paid Saquon, you take Singletary out, but they add some on the Saquon. That's about 100. Be up to about 158. Something. The difference between Singletary and what they would be paying Saquon. So up to 158. Darren Waller, they saved 11 or 12, so 150, almost 170. If Darren Waller was still here, it's like, as I said, we're not paying anybody double digits as far as a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. And it's not even close. It's Slayton's like 7 point something million. Wow. So we better start seeing some bang for the buck. But it is what it is. But I just found it rather interesting. I said, the Browns are 191, Rams are 190. Rams are almost 191 too as well. But at least the Chiefs and the Cowboys, they're getting some bang for the buck out of it. right? But I mean, the Giants, 6th highest. But, you have to wait and see. There's a big time year for Daniel Jones, big time year for Evan Neal. Now we're going to go over it. We got some the training camp, right? Some of the competition. Giants top 4 training camp position battles to watch. Now there's, of course, now there's obviously there's the battles, right? Who's going to win? The cornerback number 2, and stuff like that. But then there's also the singular battles. I mean, can Daniel Jones, right? Is he somebody that, can he stay healthy? Can he lead this team? Can he be somebody that Shane and Dave will say, yeah, he's our quarterback next year? What about Evan Neal? Can he stay healthy? Going to be that would be very interesting. Very interesting. If they draft Evan Neal, okay, obviously, as a tackle, right? Can he leave me, buddy? Huh? You leave me? Can Evan Neal be that right tackle? Right? Can he? If he can't, right? I mean, they're not going to put him on the bench. I'd be rather shocked if they didn't try to slide him inside. Right? Interesting thing, though, if they have to slide him inside, right, to become a guard, do they try to, do they pick up the 5th-year option on him? Do they offer him a what did they wind up doing with him? I mean, obviously, to slide him in, give yourself, maybe a year, at the guard position and see, but they have to pick up his 5th-year option before the 4th year starts. I can't remember. I'm a moron, but I can't remember exactly what the date is. But before the 4th year starts, right, they have to pick up the 5th-year option on him. So a big year for him. But let's see here. This is what? MSN.com. Giants will open up the training camp on July 23rd, and they begin preparing for their 100th season in the NFL, right? Because they started in 1925. 2024 will be their 100th season. The roster looks significantly different than it did a season ago. Well, I mean, to some degree, sure. Yep. Thanks to numerous offseason moves that include, obviously, Brian Burns, Darren Waller's retirement, Saquon Barkley leaving for the Beagles. Most of the roster will already be set up when the team arrives for training camp on July 23rd. But there are a few spots on the roster that will be up for grabs. Here's a look at the top 4 position battles to watch during the Giants training camp. Yep. Who will be the starting corner opposite of Deontay Banks? Because you listen, it's like when you hear Bowen talking, okay, he was mentioning, obviously he's going to be opposite wide, right? But he was talking about like Isaiah Simmons. Now this is before the draft. This is before they drafted Phillips, okay. But they were talking like on Hard Knocks. So what are you thinking about Isaiah Simmons? What do you think you got going on for him? And he's like, maybe the slot receive nickel or whatever on 1st and 2nd down, possibly money backer on 3rd, right? But I mean, if he's the corner, if he's like the nickel, the slot, right? Well, I mean, if he's got him out covering a wide receiver on 1st and 2nd down, that only leaves like one other cornerback. So we got Flott, we got Phillips. I mean, who's going to be the, So that's going to be a job. Interesting to see where they got Simmons at. Now, once again, this is before they drafted Andrew Phillips. Perhaps the biggest position of concern surrounding the team coming into the camp is that they have what's going on at corner. The team is confident that Banks will continue to emerge as one of the best young corners in the league. But as of right now, it's uncertain who will start on the opposite side of him on week 1. And that's the thing with Banks. You know what I mean? You know, we're not asking for the guy to be a Hall of Famer or something like that. You know, can you be a solid starting cornerback? And I have to, so far, I have to give him thumbs up for that. Absolutely. And if he works on his craft and gets better, absolutely. Yeah. So we got to find that other. So this is going to be obviously a huge year for the defense, the corner spot, cornerback number 2. Do we find that guy? Right? Is that going to be Phillips? Is it going to be Flat? Those vying to become the starter could be Cordell Flott, Trey Hawkins III, Ron Robinson, and rookie pick Drew Phillips, 3rd-round pick. This will be an intense battle throughout the summer, and they'll be tested every day in practice when they get to cover Malik Neighbors. Whoever fares best against Neighbors will bode well for their chances of being the starter. See, that's the one nice thing. You know what I mean? You really like to get that iron sharpening iron, right? I mean, if you got a bunch of me out there running routes, ain't nobody getting no better, right? But if you got a good Wan'Dale Robinson out there, a good, healthy Wan'Dale Robinson out there running routes, it's going to make nothing but the cornerbacks better. The secondary cornerback, right? You got a Malik Neighbors out there freaking running routes, dude. You best be on your P's and Q's, or are you going to look horrible, right? And then don't forget about Jalen Hyatt. I mean, he may not dazzle you with his route running ability, but you forget about that guy. He's past you. Forget about it. You know. So once again, I'm not saying we're going to be a top 10 scoring offense or not like that, but you start looking at some of these pieces that we have. Yeah, I mean, the wide receivers, they all have their, certainly have their little specialties to them. I said, the one thing I love about with Hyatt, you forget about the guy. He can be past you. Right? So that cornerback spot, obviously number 2, is going to be huge. Who will be Devin Singletary's primary backup? Singletary is the team's new starting running back. Motor, right? Motor Singletary. But it's unlikely he'll be the workhorse. Now, he's never been. Right? It's not like, we're going to give Devin 25 carries this week and he's going to carry us to victory. No, that's not him. Maybe 15 touches, maybe, right? But that's one of the things that makes him so appealing. He has a lot of tread left on the tires. He's smart, tough, and dependable. I don't want to jinx him, but he doesn't get injured, right? And, although he has been on some good offenses, which once again does help his numbers, okay? I mean, he averages more yards per carry than what Saquon Barkley was averaging. Go figure. But then again, Saquon's been on some rather bad offenses. Porous offensive lines. No big number 1 wide receiver out there. Nothing to take the heat off of him, right? So, but it's unlikely he'll be the workhorse as he's never carried the ball more than 188 times in a season during the time he was with Buffalo when Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator. So if you look at it like that, right, if we got 17 games, okay, 10 carries a game would be 170 carries. So if he gave him 11 carries a game for 17 games, that's 187 carries in a season. He's never carried the ball more than 188 times. So basically, he's going to carry the ball, maybe, who knows? If Daboll wants to throw the ball, ain't no ground and pound, ain't none of that stuff. We're throwing the ball, right? Without question. So I mean, but he at his prime, at his height, Devin Singletary's 11 carries per game. Okay, so I mean, obviously, so he's never going to be a workhorse. This means whoever is his primary backer will play a pivotal role on offense. Top two players competing for the backup role are Eric Gray and rookie fifth-round pick Tyrone Tracy Jr. Let's not forget. I mean, both of them were drafted by Shane. Okay, so they saw something in both of them. Right? You don't take Gray and because he had maybe some problems last season catching punts, right? You don't put him on the shelf. No, they drafted him for a reason. Gray played sparingly as a rookie, carrying the ball only 17 times for 48 yards. He had 6 receptions for 22. The belief is he'll make strides in his second season and be ready for a more prominent role. In his final year at Purdue in 2023, Tracy showed his explosive playmaking ability by averaging 6.3 yards per game and scored 6.3 yards, it says here, per game. I think that might mean 6.3 yards per carry. And he scored 8 touchdowns. In addition, he's a reliable pass catcher as he had 113 receptions during his college career, basically because he started out as a wide receiver. So you'll see both Gray and Tracy on the field this season. The only question is which one will be second on the depth chart. So once again, very, very, very exciting stuff going forward. Obviously, I'm pulling for both of them, going forward. I mean, I love it. I love it when you draft somebody. And, I'm not saying they got to be a Hall of Fame or all pro. You develop them as you keep them on the team. I mean, so I'm pulling for both guys. But it's going to be interesting to see who winds up becoming, number 2, starter number 2, backup number 2, or backup number 1, I guess. All right. Who will be who will be the starting tight end? Now, it's going to be interesting to see. Because with Theo Johnson, right, starting on the pup with the hip flexor, as of right now, we'll have to wait and see. Apparently, from just reading and all of that, it doesn't seem like it's supposed to be anything that horrible. But I mean, as of right now, it looks like Bellinger is, going to get the lion's share of the reps right now. But once Theo Johnson comes back, right, from his hip flexor, right, it's going to be possibly a nice little battle going on. One of the reasons the Giants took Penn State tight end Theo Johnson in the 4th round overall was due to the speculation that Waller might retire. With Waller officially retiring in June, Johnson has a chance to be the team's new starting tight end. However, he'll be challenged by third-year tight end Daniel Bellinger, who has 55 receptions for 523 yards and 2 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. Bellinger will have the advantage heading into the camp due to his experience, but Johnson has the edge when it comes to big playability as he scored 11 touchdowns in his final 2 seasons with the Nittany Lions. Well, at Bellinger, where he came from, they just ran the ball. This will certainly be an intriguing position battle to watch. Absolutely. And then that, not only so much that, right? But they got Manhurts, they got Stoll, they got Adoree Jackson, got Lawrence Cager. So who's going to be the third tight end? If you listen to Dable, he was kind of saying that Lawrence Cager really, from last season to this season, kind of seemed like he elevated his game. So keep an eye out for Cager, quite possibly being the number 3 guy. The other thing is, they got Adoree Jackson, but I mean, they got Stoll and Manhurts, more of a blocking kind of. Are they going to keep 4 tight ends with all these wide receivers the Giants have? Are they going to keep 4 on the 53? And if they don't, they only keep 3. Right, you got to at least one's got to go on the practice squad, but who's that going to be? Right, I mean, I can't. You're going to have Stoll and Manhurts, 2 blocking tight ends on the practice squad. I don't know. So once again, interesting. And which receivers will earn the final 2 of the final 3 spots? Interesting. Wow. I mean, let's see. The top 4 wide receivers, right? We got, obviously, we know we got Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Neighbors, and Slayton, right? all complement each other well, as they each have diverse skill sets that will cause problems for the opposing defenses. Yep. These 4 are locks to make the squad, but the team will carry either 6 or 7 receivers onto their final roster. Now, the thing is, if you got those 4 guys, right? Say, let's go say they got 7 onto the final 53. At least 3 extra guys. How many of those 3 extra guys are going to be like Gunnar Olszewski, right? Or we're going to have McKenzie, right? So guys that may be more or less, are wide receivers, but are going to get a lion's share of their reps being on special teams, returning, right? So it's going to be interesting. Let's see. Giants are deep at receiver, which means Brian Daboll and his staff will have to make some tough decisions on who to cut. Yeah, I mean, and that too. I mean, don't forget about Bryce Ford Wheaton, right? I mean, the thing is like with him, is that if he starts showing some stuff, showing some strides. He was trying to make it on, I think, special teams last year. Obviously, he got injured. Yeah, but I mean, if you got somebody who, maybe a little diamond in the rough or something like that, you stash him on the practice squad. Somebody else can possibly come along and grab him. So, I mean, that's gonna be. And we brought back Hodgins. It's gonna be interesting to see. Very, very interesting to see. Isaiah Hodgins stands a good chance of making the roster since he's been with the team for the last 2 seasons. Oh, yeah, the familiarity. I mean, he should know, that this, obviously, the offense, like the back of his hand. But then, of course, as I said, you got Gunnar Olszewski also is an inside track since he was the Giants' leading punt returner last season, right? But then if you keep Hodgins and Olszewski, that's 6 guys. Who's the 7th guy going to be, right? Who's going to try to pass through waivers to try to sneak him onto the practice squad? They'll be pushed by veterans Allen Robinson, Isaiah McKenzie, along with Bryce Ford Wheaton. Other receivers will also emerge as candidates, as there always seems to be at least one receiver who enters camp under the radar but shines during practices and preseason games. The receiver battle will definitely be a battle to keep your eyes on. Absolutely. And the one thing I like is that, with the down to 3 preseason games, and it just seems like inevitable somewhere along the line. 18 games is, you can write it almost, it's almost the writing's on the wall. 18 games to be played, right? Which, of course, will, the magic number has always been 20, right? When I first started watching football, there was 14 regular season games, 6 preseason games. Add them together, you come up with 20. 1978, it went to a 16-game schedule. They brought the preseason games down to 4. 16 and 4, my math is correct, is 20, right? And they had that for the longest time. Now we go to a 17-game schedule, so therefore, of course, you drop down to 3 preseason games. 3 preseason games. I can talk. 17 regular season games, 3 preseason games, 20. Then, of course, as I said, the writing's on the wall. It's all about that, baby. It's all about that. If they could have these guys play 942 games a year, they would. Because, what's it about? It's all about that. It's all about that, baby. Right? But so when they go to 18 games, of course, then they're going to go down to 2 preseason games. But the thing I like, is that, when you got some good depth and you got some battles going on and stuff like that, what I really, really like is that, the 3 preseason games, but they're very, very valuable. I mean, some people think they're a waste of time, this or that, but they're very, very, and you tell that a waste of time. You tell that to the guys battling for their lives to try to make a roster spot. This might be their only chance for some of these guys, right? So you tell that to them. These those preseason games are very, very valuable. And the thing I do like is that with Good boy. With the like the starters for the most part, not getting in there that much. That means you got whatever 95% of the snaps are being taken, or 90% or whatever it winds up being. Of the snaps are being taken by second, third, fourth string guys battling it out. So you got 3 games. Right, so you got a chance. Everybody's got a chance to go out there and maybe try to make something happen. But you're going to get some good battles going out there. And each guy, as I said, in 3 games have an opportunity. Not so much in the training, during training camp, but also in the preseason games. So the thing I don't like about dropping the games down, the preseason games down too much. What are you going to do? Have we're going to have 1 preseason game. I mean, I agree without question that the 6 preseason games was just absolutely freaking ridiculous. I mean, the 14 regular season games, right? To me, once again, I'm an old time fart, so please forgive me. I'm living in the 70s once again, so please forgive me. Okay. But the 14 game schedule to me is just perfect. I absolutely loved it. That's what I grew up with. That's what I like. Once they got to 16, But the 6 preseason games, I think that's just straight up just stone cold crazy. That's just way too freaking many. Way too many. I saw an article. Somebody snipped out a newspaper article and put it in on I get the Facebook feed, and I saw it, and it was from 72 or 73. One of those. It was a preseason game. Again, the Giants might have been when they played the Chargers. Was it the Patriots? Can't remember. But our starting running back, I'm going to be talking about a little bit, was Ron Johnson. Okay. In that preseason game, he had 23 carries. He had over 100 yards rushing. Your star running back in a preseason game, 23 carries. Holy crap. I mean, could you imagine nowadays? Could you imagine Dable having Barkley out there and feeding him like 23 carries in a preseason, a meaningless preseason? Wow. Just goes to show you how times have changed. But to me, the 6 preseason games, that's just ridiculous. When they went down to 4 is nice. I like 4. 4, you got plenty of time, and even 3 or 4 preseason games. That gives the guys, the second, third stringers, or whatever like that, good chance to go out there and do something. I mean, pretty soon, I guess it's probably going to be down to 2 preseason games, and it's kind of like, 3 or 4 is nice. 6 is way too many. I don't think 2 is quite enough. Because let's not forget, you also want to get, your starters in there. I mean, you don't want to go to whole preseason without your starting offensive line out there trying to gel a little bit together to start. You don't want that. Right, so if you only got 2 preseason games and half of it's being taken up by the starters, I mean, so. But anyway, once again, it's all about the money. So there's going to be some very good, interesting battles going on without question. All right, then we got next Phil Simms and Ron Johnson to be inducted into New Jersey Hall of Fame. Now, once again, I'm an old-time fart. Ron Johnson, my man, pots and pans, my all-time favorite running back for the New York Giants. So he's probably whatever, I don't know, top 10 easily for me. Once again, why? Because I'm an old-time fart as far as Giants of all time. Ron Johnson got him 1970, played to 1975 for the Giants. Injuries just took its toll on him. He was the first, 70 and 72. He had over 1,000 yards rushing. 1973 with a team that was 2-11-1. He had over 900 yards rushing, and I think he missed like 2 games. So so on a crappy team, he had over 900 yards rushing in 12 games. So I mean, he was on a bad team, not very good offensive line and all that stuff and everything. He was a ray of sunshine. Let me tell you what. But those 2 guys, Good for them. Inducted in the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Let's see. New Jersey Hall of Fame recently announced the former Giants Phil Simms and Ron Johnson will both be inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame class of 2024 later this year, joining actress Meryl Streep, actor Paul Rudd, and numerous other notable figures in the 18-person class. Simms played his entire 15-year career with the Giants. He overcame a series of injuries early in his career, yes, to become the most productive quarterback in team history, not named Eli Manning. Simms held the Giants' career records for pass attempts, 4,647, completions, 2,576, and yards, 33,462, and touchdowns, 199, and currently ranks second in franchise history in all those categories. He was 95-64 as a regular season starter and 6-4 in the playoffs. Obviously, he's best remembered for, the 22 out of 25 in Super Bowl 21, he completed all 10 of his passes in the second half, including the one that bounced off of Bavara's shoulder or neck or whatever it was and bounced up in the air. McConkey just happened to be there, right? It's one of those magical moments, guys. What can you say, right? In his 6 seasons, now we're talking about Ron Johnson. His 6 seasons with the Giants from 1970 to 75. Johnson rushed for 3,836 yards, which placed him 8th on the franchise career list behind Ahmad Bradshaw and Hall of Famer Frank Gifford. But I said, Johnson, he had 1971. He played in 2 games. He played against the Chargers, I believe, and the Redskins. He had like 70 yards. He had like 140 yards rushing, but he only played in 2 games. So I said 70. He just got over 1,000 yards in the final game of the season against the Rams. 72, he had over 1,100 yards. 72, we had a really good offense. We had a really good team. We played a very tough schedule, and we missed the playoffs by a couple games. But we were 8-6. 73, I said we started off 1-0-1. We wound up 2-11-1. We were 1-11 in the final 12 games of the 73 season. I said I think he missed 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. He had a little over 900 yards in the 1973 season, and he missed 2 games. He only played 12 games, and he had but then 74 and 75, that the injuries just started catching up with him, and he just, after 75, he wanted to retire. But he's always going to be mine. I love Tiki. I love me some Tiki. And he obviously, without question, Tiki was the most productive Giants running back of all time, without question. But Ron Johnson's always been my favorite. Let's see. Johnson with 1,066 rushing attempts. He is one of 7 players with more than 1,000 carries in the Giants uniform. Johnson's 33 rushing touchdowns rank among the top 10 in franchise history, 1 fewer than Gifford and 2 less than Otis Anderson. Johnson was a Pro Bowler in 1970. In 1972, he rushed for a career-high 1,182 yards. His Giants resume also included 189 receptions for 1,813 yards and 15 receiving touchdowns. He was a very good receiver as well, too. Let's see. John Mara said, Ron was a great player for us in a difficult era. You got that right. He was smart and tough. It was always a class act. Inductees will be honored at the 16th Annual New Jersey Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The 2024 class of inductees of the New Jersey Hall of Fame illustrate the New Jersey ethic of hard work, determination, and grit. So good for them. Good for them. I know Ron Johnson. He had a nice career at Michigan, and then of course, if you ever there's that very famous. New York Giants select quarterback Phil Simms, Morehead State, and you hear in the background, ooh, so obviously Phil came from Morehead State, and Ron Johnson was from Michigan. He had a very good career at Michigan. Right. So congratulations to those 2 guys. Then we got Darius Slayton, does some talking. Now he does some talking about quite a few different quite a few different topics here. One of them, he just from him talking last year with Darren Waller, he did not seem like that Darren Waller, his heart was, or he was gonna be coming back this season. Right? He thought, a good chance that retirement was quite in the cards for Mr. Waller. But there's three different topics, right? Darius Slayton sensed Darren Waller was not returning to the Giants. After the 2023 season, Darius Slayton had a feeling that now retired tight end Darren Waller was on the verge of calling it quits. Let's see. Slayton said, I used to always tease him and say, I need one more year. I need one more year, Slayton would say. But he would reply, man, Slay, I don't got it in me. I don't know. I don't know. So I kind of sensed he was probably nearing the end. Yeah. It was a shame. I mean, because if you saw stuff like last season in training camp and all, you're like, man, this guy, man, we got ourselves a steal, right? But it said before the 2023 season, Waller acquired from, the Giants got him from the Raiders for a third-round pick. Seemed like a bargain. No Giant defender could match his prowess in the spring and throughout training camp. While his ability to stay healthy was promising, especially given that the 31-year-old had only played 20 games out of the previous two seasons, but it was just not meant to be. Unfortunately, Waller's health deteriorated early in the season. He mentioned that a nerve issue, not a muscle problem, was causing his hamstring. So, I mean, the one thing, it's not something, well, just stretch your hamstrings out or just rub your hamstrings or this or that. Hamstrings are good now. He's got something wrong there. And unfortunately, it was probably always going to just keep flaring up. Now, I don't know about his everyday life. Does the nerve problem in his hamstring or hamstrings cause him, discomfort, or does he, walking down the street wind up pulling a hamstring or something because he's got the nerve, does that cause him a problem? I don't know. But you can almost pretty much pencil it in. Even if he did play this season, there's a good chance, he was going to miss some time. I mean, he missed time last season. He's probably going to miss time this season. So it is what it is. But Darius Slayton did not seem to think that day he was going to be coming back. All right, then we got Darius Slayton. This is kind of funny. Slayton laughs off Patrick Peterson's criticism of Daniel Jones. Now, of course, obviously, the one thing is that, with Slayton coming in 2019, so did Daniel Jones. So Slayton's he's always got Daniel Jones's back. I'm sure Daniel Jones will always have his back as well. So, that's unfortunately, this is going to probably be Slayton's. We're going to get into the next article about Slayton. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be his last season here because the Giants, he's signed for the 2 years. This will be his second year, right? I don't see how possibly the Giants are going to wind up signing him because, I mean, I'm sure he would love to stay here, but he wants to get paid and he wants to play. And if he's going to be fourth on the depth chart or something, I mean, they're going to get Hyatt in there, Robinson in there, Malik Neighbors in there. I mean, unless there's some injuries. There's some injuries, and, he'll be on the field. But unfortunately, this might be his last season here with the Giants. But he does have, always has Daniel Jones's back. It says, during the recent episode of his podcast, All Things Covered, 8-time Pro Bowl cornerback Patrick Peterson took aim at the Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. Peterson criticized Jones, claiming he processes too slow. Well, there is there's some evidence of that. So you can't knock Peterson too much for that, right? He says he processes too slow to be an NFL quarterback and suggested that defenses don't fear him. He said, I had an opportunity to play against Daniel Jones a couple of times. Ain't nothing impressive about him to a defense, Peterson said. He's big and strong, but he hasn't shown us arm talent, like crazy arm talent. He's shown an ability to read defense offenses quickly to get the ball out quickly, and I just think he has a problem dissecting the 11 guys on defense. His process is too slow to excel as a great NFL quarterback. He has talent. He has all the measurables. It's just not coming together on the football field. So, yeah. But Darius Slayton got wind of those criticisms and found them somewhat ironic coming from Peterson. Darius said he's entitled to his opinion, obviously playing for a long time. I've got a lot of respect for Patrick Peterson, Slayton said on All Facts, No Breaks with Keyshawn Johnson. But at the same time, we played the Minnesota Vikings twice in a 4-week span, and we put up close to 30 points both times. And in the first game, they only won on a 63-yard field goal. Yeah. It wasn't like we were being stopped. Then we played them again in the playoffs, and Jones set a playoff yardage record at the Vikings. Peterson was on the team at the time. So it's an interesting take. If it was maybe another team that we were maybe worse against, I would understand the take more. But it's just an interesting take considering we saw them twice, and there wasn't a whole lot of us not scoring. I just found it odd that this take came from that source. Slayton wasn't necessarily trying to disrespect Peterson, but his point was valid. In week 16 of the 2022 season, Jones completed 30 of 42 pass attempts for 334 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Now, the Vikings did not have a stellar defense that year. So 4 weeks later in the wild card round, the playoffs, Jones completed 25 of his 35 pass attempts for 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and adding another 78 yards on the ground. In that playoff game, Jones completed 5 of the 7 passes at Peterson for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had 2 touchdowns in the playoff game, and both of them were Peterson. But once again, you got to take all stuff with a grain of salt. Peterson is, was not. The 10-year ago Patrick Peterson, but Peterson's got some points. He's got some valid points, but Darius Slayton always backs up Daniel Jones. I like to see that. And then finally, and also this with Darius Slayton too. And, I don't blame him here. Want to. All right, Giants wide receiver. If I'm not featured more, then trade me or cut me. Wide receiver Darius Slayton is doing his best impression of the hold me back routine. Appearing on the All Facts, No Breaks with Keyshawn Johnson, once again, podcast on Wednesday, Slayton said that if the Giants didn't intend to target him more this upcoming season, he would have pushed to play elsewhere. Now, this is an interesting stat I never thought of and all that. So this is interesting, but this, of course, isn't in Slayton's power as he's still under contract. Slayton is entering his final year of his 2-year, $12 million deal he signed with the Giants last season. To make a long story short, obviously I'm under contract, so I can't get out of here unless they trade me or cut me, which you're not going to cut me, Slayton said. So hell no. So when they didn't opt to trade me in the spring, I like to play. So when mandatory minicamp came around and guys were practicing, I played football because I love to play the game. So I was ready to get back on the field, ready to compete. So whatever incentives they threw in there, because remember, he didn't show up, right? They threw some extra incentives at him, which unfortunately I don't think he's going to reach. If he does, cool, but I don't think he's going to. They threw some incentives at him, and we settled on it, and kept it pushing. And we'll see how the year goes. Slayton has arguably been the best Giants receiver since he was drafted in the 5th round of the 2019 draft. In 5 seasons since then, he's led the team in receiving 4 times. Now, this is interesting. Last season, he was targeted 79 times. He caught 50 of those passes, right, for 770 yards, which was a career high, and 4 touchdowns. This, Slayton believes, isn't enough. But also you got to look at it too, is that, the offense was just not good. I mean, whether you throw the ball more at him or not, we just weren't good enough to stay on the field, especially with the offensive line we had, right? But Slayton said, I don't play football to just play. Slayton said, I want the chance to show that I'm amongst the best in the game. But the reality of being a receiver is if you don't get the opportunities to do so, you're not going to have the production. For instance, last year I had 79 targets. There's never in the history of football been a 1,000 yard season on less than 80 targets. Especially nowadays when you guys are going for 1,600, 1,700 yards, you want to play at that pace. You need the ball, which is true. So, I mean, his point is valid. I mean, he's only getting whatever, right? 770 yards. Right? But, I mean, you look at the offense we had last season, and you're like, hey, that's not too bad. But you got to he needs the targets. And he only had 79 targets. And I never knew that, that there's never been a 1,000-yard receiver on less than 80 targets. And I don't know how far back you go. I do know, that they somewhere along the line, obviously, they start recording targets, but it wasn't a real long time ago. So somewhere along, I'm not exactly sure what year that was, but it's true. You got to get the targets to get the yards and all and everything. And he's going to have a hard time if everybody stays healthy, right? Because I'm sure they're going to want to get Jalen Hyatt on the field. Now, if we go 4 wide, okay, he's golden, right? But you got they got to get Waddle in there, right? You got to get Neighbors in there. And I'm sure that, once again, they drafted Hyatt for a reason, right? But you do got to give Darius Slayton a lot of credit, right? Because this is his 3rd coaching staff, right? He got drafted by Shermer. He made it, right? I mean, after Shermer left, Judge came in, right? Now, he was still on his rookie deal. Obviously, he was on his rookie deal when Judge came in. He's, his 5th-round pick. He had 8 touchdown receptions in his rookie season. He led the team in receiving yards in 2019, all that stuff. And obviously, they're not going to get rid of him. But, but he made it through Shermer. He made it through Judge, and that was his 3rd season with Dable. So let's not forget the first season with Dable was in here. Slayton was almost like banished to the practice squad. I mean, so he hung around. We had a bunch of injuries, like Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson got injured. So we had a bunch of injuries and all that. And, Slayton went from like somewhere around the practice squad to being a starter. So, but if this is his last season, I will miss him. That's for damn sure. That is for darn sure. And then we got this, the state of the NFC East. This is from John Schmelk. This is from the Giants.com, a Big Blue John Schmelk's with Big Blue Kickoff Live. I try to watch their podcast every day. So he does like a little roundup here. So what is the outlook for the NFC East? Schmelk says the Eagles and the Cowboys are both still extremely talented and boast top 10 rosters in the NFL. There are more questions about both teams than there were entering the 2023 season. The Eagles collapsed at the end of the 2023 season, losing 5 of their final 6 games and allowing 25 or more points in all but one of those contests. They responded by bringing in Vic Fangio as their new defensive coordinator and drafting 2 highly rated defensive backs. They also hired a new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. The Eagles certainly had the talent, and we'll see if their additions make their final third of the 2023 season a distant memory or a foreshadowing of things to come. Ooh. The Cowboys made very few additions, to say the least, in free agency this offseason. Spare veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks and rejoining forces with former starting running back Ezekiel Elliott. They did have several key losses. Smith, their tackle, right? Tony Pollard, Tyler Biadasz, Michael Gallup, Leighton Vander Esch, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Jonathan Hankins, Neville Gallimore, Stephon Gilmore, who still remains a free agent. With the departure of defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to coach the Commanders, veteran coach Mike Zimmer will bring his proven system to the defense. Yes, let's not forget. Zimmer's very good with the defense. So we'll see if the Cowboys stars can keep them afloat amongst the losses up and down the roster as they try to win 12 games for the 4th straight season. Might be a little bit tough. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the Commanders are as close to a blank slate as a team can be. They have a new general manager, new head coach, new quarterback, and a slew of new players on both sides of the ball. They have hitched their wagon to the extremely talented rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who will be coached by Cliff Kingsbury. There's talent at the skill positions on offense, but the line has questions. The defense lacks star power outside of their 3 defensive tackles, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Newton. But they hope veterans Bobby Wagner and Jeremy Chin can hold the fort while they rebuild the unit. Now, the thing is, they brought in a lot of guys, the Commanders. It's really difficult. You got a new coach and a new this and a GM, and you got all these new free agents coming in. Obviously, the draft picks, all that, and just go, boom, there you go, guys. Yeah, let's win some ball games. That's tough. But it's going to be interesting. The other thing that be interesting is Daniels going to be in there week 1? Is he going to be in there and just start taking lumps? We'll have to wait and see. I'm very anxious to see him play. Very, very anxious to see him play. But I do like it like this because I always like it. I didn't like it in 2020, right? When the Giants were 6-10 and they actually had a chance to win the division at 6 and. I always like it when there's a 1 or 2 dominant teams, and if it's not the Giants, that fuels my hatred. Passion that I can't stand those other teams on top. That keeps the fire burning inside me, right? About the Eagles and the Cowboys, how much I hate them. Yeah. What I mean? I have a little bit of love for the Cowboys because I don't know how this happened, but my son's a Cowboy fan. I don't know how he was born here in South Jersey and he likes the Cowboys. I guess he was jumping on the bandwagon. But so I got a little, love, very little, very, very little. But the Eagles, I can't stand them. So having 2 really good teams, right, on top of the Giants, right, and we're trying to catch them, burns that, it gets that fires, and I absolutely love it. And it makes it even that much better when you can go out there and beat them, like when we did last season with the Eagles, the final game of the season. We look good. The Eagles had a lot to play for, and the Giants had, nothing to play for. They had nothing but pride. The Eagles are beating us up. Almost every time we were playing them, the Eagles are just beating us up. So the Giants had absolutely nothing to go for in the final game of the season but pride, and they came away with a W. A very, very, very impressive victory over the Eagles. So that's something to look forward to. Now, this season, we got to figure out a way how to beat the Cowgirls, right? All right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 2 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching a replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It really means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo!